Globally, mental health is being challenged like never before due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The devastation the pandemic has brought, such as the millions of deaths, the economic strife, and the social isolation, has caused a huge impact on mental health worldwide. As the pandemic is entering into its second year, the prevalence of mental health among individuals is still extremely high. I am one of the individuals affected by the pandemic. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression of July in 2020 due to the extreme loneliness and anxiety I felt. I believe I'm credible to give this speech as I have done extensive research on mental health and how it can be impacted by COVID. Today we're going to talk about how COVID impacts mental health worldwide, and first discussing how the Mental Health Fund globally was already extremely underfunded prior to the pandemic beginning. 2, how different people and different groups of people are affected worldwide. And 3, how the general population is affected by the pandemic, and I'll provide some stats along with that. Now, first and foremost, it's extremely important to discuss how the Global Mental Health Fund was already extremely underfunded before the pandemic even began. According to an article published by the World Health Organization in 2020, less than 2% of the national health budget was being spent on mental health. Now, this includes stuff for psych wards, medication, treatment, or therapy, stuff like that. Now, as the cases are rising, so are the mental health needs, but the pandemic has stopped over 93% of the in-person treatments for mental health. It's even harder to seek that mental health help now, but it was even limited before, as the pandemic is making it even harder. Now, second, we're going to discuss the 3 most impacted groups from COVID. This article, published by the United for Mental Global Health in 2020, has said that 3 groups were the most significantly impacted, and those 3 groups include people with pre-existing or current mental health, healthcare workers, and children. First, let's discuss how people with pre-existing or current mental health issues are being affected. Now, COVID has been shown to intensify or trigger a relapse in patients with existing mental health issues. Mental health capacities are being cut down as the isolation spaces are being increased. For example, in Argentina, 99% of the patients were being forced to be kicked out due to the increasing need for space for social isolation. The need for medication is rising now, but medications are being delayed or even cut completely. And even though there are some online options for therapy, it proves not to work for most of the people taking it. Now, second, let's discuss how healthcare workers are affected. Healthcare workers are the most crucial part of stopping this pandemic, but as the cases are rising, so are the mental health rates. Now, first, research from the 2003 outbreak proves that 89% of the healthcare workers in that high-risk situation proved to feel psychological effects afterwards. Now, in China, at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, 50.4% of the healthcare workers reported feeling depressed, while 44.6% of them felt anxious. See, the self-care for our healthcare workers is going down, and our support for them is also going down, leading to increased mental and psychological effects. Now, the last group significantly affected are children. As schools and daycares are closing, it's limiting the growth and the social interaction for children to grow. A study done on Spanish and Italian parents proved that 85% of the parents noticed changes in their children's behavior and mental health. 76% of them said they were unable to concentrate. 38% of them said their children were anxious, and 30% of them said their children were lonely. Now, their brain health and development is slowly being detrimentally crushed due to this social isolation. Children need to be around people to grow, but being alone at home is not helping. Now, third, let's talk about the general population and how it's affected. Even people that are not directly affected by the pandemic are still being forced to be in social isolation to protect themselves, which is leading to more anxiety and depression among the population. Now, a study published by the Kaiser Family Foundation in 2021 shows that adults in 2019 reported 1/10 of adults in 2019 reported feeling anxious or depressed, but in 2020, since the pandemic started, over 4 in 10 of them reported feeling depressed. And I have a graph here showing that. So this was in 2019, and then this right here was in 2020 when the pandemic started, which is a huge increase. Now, another source I have is posted by the Commonwealth Fund in 2020, and it reported that over 1/3 of US adults reported feeling this sadness and great anxiety that was really difficult to cope with by themselves. And if you look at this graph I have here, the US rates over here are much higher than any other country. The US rates are 33%, while all other countries are about a quarter, 25%. Now today we discussed how COVID has impacted mental health worldwide and how mental health impacts children, healthcare workers, and people with pre-existing mental health issues the most. But we can work on this. If you check in with people around you and make sure your loved ones are okay, we can conquer COVID-19 and come out stronger and better. Thank you.